was speaking to Tim earlier today. I think this was the thing that got to me, and I've heard it many times, and he was just talking about what it's like when there's no me state. And then he sort of just looked at me and said, well, but you'll never know that, you'll never know that. And it was just like, it's said so many times.
Yeah. Yeah.
But all of a sudden it was like, shit.
Yeah.
Sort of, wow, oh my God. There was emotion, there was an emotional response to that.
Yeah.
It was like, oh.
Well, it is in a way sort of talking to that craving that the me has to want to have an experience.
Yeah. Yes. It's like, oh, there's nothing for you, and it was just like, I think that's what I was saying earlier. It's like, shit, there's nothing for the me.
No.
The me is looking for experiences.
Yeah. But I mean, ultimately, the me state is not relevant. I mean, not. It's just. It's not. It's just not very relevant.
It's not significant.
It's not significant. Yeah. It's not. It's almost like sometimes when speakers say things, it can be almost like a carrot on a string. It's kind of like, oh, you can never get this, But it's not. In a certain sense, it's actually just saying that, well, the me is just, so what? The me state. Who cares about that? I mean, doesn't matter about what that wants. That's just a little thing. It's a kind of a little irrelevance. It's just yeah. That's all I can say. It's not. It isn't significant, and what it wants is not significant.
What it isn't significant, and what it wants isn't significant. Yeah. There's nothing significant.
No. This has got nothing to do. This whole communication has got nothing to do with me. It's got nothing to do with what it's like. We're literally talking about a different subject. That's what it's, in a way, it's what it's like. It's sort of like, the me's talking about, I want to get this, I want to get it, I want to understand it, I want to have that experience. It's a completely different subject. It's got nothing to do with it. It's like talking about, I don't know, aeroplanes or, or I don't know, whatever. What this is completely different.
So the me is, this me is thinking, oh, this wholeness, and that's just not significant.
No. Exactly that. Yeah. That's right. It's just all of the fantasies and ideologies, all of that stuff is just sort of like recognised as being a kind of little world of its own, is within a world of its own. And this immediacy, this aliveness, nothing to do with it. It's just like a completely different, That's the way I would, like it's just absolutely a completely different thing. In exactly the same way as a child or a dog, if a dog walks in the room, it's not going to be interested in this conversation. It's just going to be sniffing around and doing all of what dogs do. Right? There's in a way like two conversations, or two worlds. You could put, you could say. It's not two worlds, but I'm describing it like that.
So in a way, though, that's quite common then. So there's, well, I don't know. For me anyway, it's very much focused, or it feels like there's this wholeness thing which I can get maybe. I mean,
Yeah.
But that's always kind of like fairly present, or kind of like in the background maybe.
Yeah.
And yeah, I suppose I'm imagining that would be fairly common, possibly.
Yes, it is very common. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and in many different unique forms. There's that. That everybody has got their own unique form of seeking. Well, that's essentially seeking.
Yeah. But it's got nothing to do with that.
It's completely like it's absolutely nothing to do with it. It's nothing to do with anything that the me comes up with. That's the funny thing.
But it's funny, isn't it? Because I came here kind of like in that partly in that story, I guess.
Yes.
Of wanting to get this kind of wholeness.
Of course, yes. Yeah.
But it's not there.
No, it's actually that you've come to the wrong meeting. There was another meeting next door which was about wholeness, but this one has got nothing to do with wholeness at all.
But it's funny, it really feels like I'm at the right place.
No, but there is something else. That's what I mean. There's something else that does come.
Yeah.
Despite, in a certain sense, despite the me's projection and everything else, despite that, it still comes to this kind of thing. And that's exactly a very interesting thing, because the preferences and the desires of the sort of, you could call the instinctive energy, or the energy that comes towards meetings, there's no choice. The me believes that there's a choice, but there's no choice. The me thinks there's a choice in everything, but there isn't.
Yeah.
The only thing that the me kind of does is kind of get in the way of things spontaneously happening. I mean, not spontaneously, just immediately being an immediate response to something. So it gives a sort of gives a sort of slow down effect. It slows down the responses to things. That's what I. But the choice is already made immediately. Do you want coffee or tea? The choice is already made. Now there's this kind of, the meing comes into that and kind of tries to persuade you that one is good and the other is bad. But the choice has already actually been made. So you go through then a big complex process about, should I have tea or coffee? Should I have tea or coffee? Should I have tea or coffee? And then inevitably the one that the body chose is the one that you eventually go towards, but it just takes you a little bit longer to get there.
And also there's a feeling like there's, you know, I have a choice, like I can choose this or I can
Yeah,
not choose.
absolutely. Yeah, you believe, everybody believes that there is a choice that I have that I'm going to make, and yeah, I'm in control, of course. Yeah, but there, yeah. Who is there to do that? You know, there is no entity there making these decisions. It's just ridiculous.
And it's just ridiculous.
Sorry?
Just think the idea of me is just ridiculous. Well, it's irrelevant, isn't
Yeah.
it? That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I kind of. There isn't anything relevant, of course, but you know what I mean. I'm using these words which are not. Words are just not perfect. You know, I mean, like we were talking about before, now and immediacy or whatever. You know, words are not perfect ways of describing things, but from this there is a significant difference between now and immediacy. And it's just the way that this is trying to express something that cannot be expressed. And the same, yeah, there are other words that I particularly like, I guess, but they're only that I like those words because they express. There's a resonance with those that seem to be less complex and confusing and mind associated, actually. You know, things with now and time and things like that are very much up here. So I don't use them. But you know, doesn't matter.
what's very attractive about these meetings is there's a lovely simplicity.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a lot of
Yeah.
uncomplicatedness.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Exactly. I mean, this is so uncomplicated. It's unbearably uncomplicated. Yeah, it's exactly, yeah.
And there's a real attraction in that, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the the wonderful quality of this, is that it is just completely the satiation is in the ordinariness and in that quality. But it doesn't need to be anything. But I don't need that this doesn't need to find something or try really hard or be something. That it is constantly enough.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's what why I understand when people call that beloved or that quality, because it is that that breath out, that not needing to be anything, and I think so many people wander around the world seemingly trying to figure it out and try really hard to get somewhere, and most stories are about a process of becoming better, and that's a really that's such a sort of, in a certain sense, it's a tragedy.
Yeah.
A lot of people live in tragedy of not becoming what they wanted to become.
And this is not relatable to anything either.
No, it's not. You can't. Yeah. I mean, it's so difficult to, even express it in words. And so, in order to be able to relate it would need to be something.
Yeah.
It would need to be like, okay, here's the thing, now I can relate to it or not.
Yeah.
And you've got the thing, and you're the you've got the subject, and you're the, that's an object, you're the subject, and so you're in that sort of thing again. So it's unrelatable by nature. Yeah.
Because I have this constant urge to want to relate it to stuff.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But it just doesn't work.
Really. Well, there'll always be a strand that sort of this relates to, because it's everything.
Yeah.
So it's in a way, it's always connected to everything that we're, the me is sort of investigating. Yeah. So, yeah.
Sometimes there is that sense of the absolute agendalessness of this, nothing, this,
Yeah.
and I noticed that particularly if I was talking to someone and they're talking within the idea of agenda, and it's so obvious that they how could nothing, how could everything, how could there be, how could love have an agenda?
Yes, absolutely.
And it's so clear, and then of course it fades away and then me comes in with its wherever it's that me state. And it's paramount, but sometimes it's so clear.
There's no, there can be no agenda. As soon as there's an agenda, there's a drive, there's a will, there's a teaching, there's somebody that knows, there's somebody that doesn't know, and there is a kind of process of trying to pass that information on.
And I suppose how could this want to be anything other than this? Because it can only be this. It's like, why would it have an agenda to be a different type of this? It's like, no, I'm going to be better this. I'm going to be a pink this. A square. I'm going to be a square this today.
Sure. Yeah.
And what the teachings teach. I was talking to a friend only the other day, and not about this. She was talking about her spiritual seeking, and her teacher she said to her teacher, well, what's the point of this? And he said, well, you just have to keep striving. And she said, well, how long do I have to keep striving? And he looked at her as if she was crazy and said, well, your whole life. And she sort of said, fuck that. What's the point of that? Which was a really good question, actually. But the idea is that, you strive, and there'll be moments of bliss, and maybe there'll be bliss at the end of it, or in the middle of it, or somewhere. So maybe if you work hard enough, you'll find peace, and it's
very.
And that's so, this is, or if this is already everything,
right?
Yeah, and again, I go back to my greatest teacher, who is my grandbaby, who is, you know, she's, and it's just like all of the things arise there.
Yeah.
All of the pain and the anguish and the joy and the peace and the aliveness and all of those things, but they're free to just arise and fall away.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Well, I mean, in a way, that's what they're striving for. You know, this is a lot of the time. You know, a lot of monastic traditions, a lot of meditative traditions are always trying to get to, in a certain sense, the innocent state, the uncarved block, which essentially is a childlike state. But the main thing is that they're trying to get there.
Yeah.
There's a drive to get there. There's an ambition to get there. A huge ambition. You know, some of the most ambitious people that you'll come across are people that have got a sort of religious monastic drive. They're very driven people. You know.
Oh, isn't there that? Who was it said it? Was it Jesus? Apparently Jesus that said it. You know, to be like little children.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Went into that.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, and then of course people say, right, how do I become like a little child? Right, okay, I know, you know, I
Jump up and down.
jump up and down and, you know, do lots of stuff. Right, okay.
Do a play course.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Exactly, yeah.
I did try laughter yoga once.
Right.
It was awful.
Yeah, but I mean, you know what I mean. Or you can just be like really serious and stare at a wall. You know, and, you know, try to, you know, be here and now, for example, or whatever. You know, but this is this drive and you know, ambition is the seeking. It's such a strong seeking. And all about, you know, in the end I'll get there. In the end, I will get to heaven. You know, and that is just naturally the expression of the me state. That's just what it does. It just goes, I'm going to go and get it. It's a warrior. It's the only warrior. There's no other warriors in nature. Only human. I mean, only the me state is the warrior. It's going to war with what is. Yeah.
And yet it can't be anything other than what is.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no getting this. There's no claiming this. No matter how much there is a struggle or a fight or whatever it is. No. It just remains in total allowance, total, you know, openness. You know, like the petals of a flower, you know, just like, you know, it doesn't care. So what is doesn't, you know, the me is just, it can contract, it can do that thing of trying to pull and push, and, you know, of course that's what it does. That's what apparently is happening. But within that contraction, of course it can't find. It will never find.
with teachers,
Mm.
so that going towards teachers who are trying to teach you to get somewhere.
Yeah.
But then there are teachers that if you're learning to play the guitar.
Yeah, sure.
And that's not all teachers are. Like
No.
You're not going just because you're going towards a teacher. Doesn't necessarily mean you're seeking.
No, it doesn't. It just you might like to play the guitar, want to play the guitar.
Yeah.
So you can have a person that knows that they play the guitar, and then you are absorbing that in a way.
And because I was thinking about it, like in terms of the animal kingdom, like the young, I guess that might be different, but they're watching other people, but other older animals, or like learn. Is that different?
Well, I mean, I think that's exactly what I'm saying, is that there can be, I mean, there's just an interest or a draw towards things that are a preference for that particular body.
Mm-hmm.
That body will like particular things, might like playing guitar, might like playing another instrument, it might like, dancing or doing whatever, So it will draw towards energy that is doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And in the draw towards energy that is doing that, it is encouraged. The energy is encouraged. It's increased. That quality is increased.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I see going on. But I don't think that there is any kind of intention involved in that. I don't think that you choose to play the guitar or you choose to go and do all of these things. There's a natural energy there that just goes towards that. And just like animals, that dogs, there's an instinctive energy there that goes towards certain foods, certain things, It's teaching is a whole, describing energetically what is going on in teaching, is quite an interesting thing. Is it actually there? Is it actually an imparting of something? There's a subject and an object, and there's an imparting of something, or is it just energy that's just a quality of energy that's just increasing, certain quality that's just expanding, a quality that's going like this, there isn't on any level a one that knows and another one that doesn't know, And when it comes to spirituality, or when you're talking about spiritual teachers, then when you're discussing that, then you're discussing something which is about something which is what they're talking about is getting somewhere, is becoming something. Well, that's just completely impossible. So it's actually kind of, when we're talking about those kind of teachers, what you're talking about, what they're describing is something which is an impossibility. And the point here about what we're discussing is just actually, in a certain sense, saying, well, that's just impossible. When there's you can learn, you can go and learn guitar, or you can learn to be a doctor, or you can learn these kind of things, and that's just energy going that way, and it's just sort of skills, practical or physical in its skills, things that kind of create, as I was saying, a sort of muscle memory.
But spirituality, what muscle memory is that?
It's something completely different. It's completely and utterly different from anything else that we're talking about, from any of those other things that you're discussing. It's actually saying that there is something called spirituality which you can get. And the only thing that's expressed here is actually, no, there isn't anything called spirituality and there's nothing to get. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know whether that answers it. It's kind of like an odd one out, the spiritual teacher. It's like, wow, that's, yeah, that's a completely, that's totally something completely different. That's got nothing to do with anything, anything that is, like a skill or a muscle memory, if you want to talk about it like that, or whatever. Language is, all of these other things are, but spirituality,
I think that Tony often talks about, that sense that, we've been cast out of the kingdom of heaven sort of thing, and then a spiritual teacher will come along and say, well, I'll tell you what to do in order to be reinstated.
Yeah.
And therefore they're constantly affirming that, yes, there is a you, and you have done something wrong, and I'll tell you what you can do to make that right, so that you can find or enter into the kingdom of
Yes, exactly, yeah.
And perhaps if you stop grasping, and if you stop having aversion, and if you do this, and blah, 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 all of those things.
Yeah.
I mean, it's based on a very fundamental flaw of the psyche, sense of the psyche that...
Well, yes, exactly. I mean, that sense of contraction, is the thing that creates God and spirituality.
Yeah.
That it's that sense of self creates that God, and then there must be an expert in God and in spirituality that I can learn from, and then it will resolve that sense of contraction. So that's what we're talking about. That's why there are spiritual teachers, because there is obviously a sense of contraction, and people want a resolution to it.
Yes, because there's something wrong with that.
Yeah, and then that spiritual teacher will then give you an exercise which will be like trying to play the guitar, except that you won't be able to, except that that in itself, that practice that is given is not going to provide you with an answer to is not going to be able to resolve what it is that you're looking for. Whereas if you go to a guitar teacher and you have an energy there that is enthusiastically wanting to play the guitar, then most likely that combination of that energy will gather, and there will be a more efficient or more easy way of playing the guitar.
Yeah, and because that's the way they do it. It's like giving a choice of like 10 different, like a strumming pattern of this. It's like which one resonates with you, which one do you like, and then it's like, oh, I quite like the finger picking, and then we go towards that.
Right.
And then it's
this is the thing, is like talking about teachers. Like, do teachers actually teach, or do they, they very often sort of, there's somebody who has got an interest or a preference there, a desire there, and in a certain sense, what's going on is that teacher is basically saying, oh, you've got that energy that wants to do that. Go on then.
Yeah.
And then they do it.
Yeah.
And there are some people that don't have any teachers and that they just do that themselves. You know, they do that.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean,
But it doesn't have to be a me to learn the guitar, but
No.
it has to be a me to be a spiritual seeker. In
well,
a way.
they're,
Because that's who they're talking to, isn't it? They're talking to me, but it doesn't have to be a me to learn to play the guitar.
no, absolutely, there doesn't have to be. But there's, I mean, a spiritual seeker has the belief or the sense that there is a me, yes.
Yeah,
And therefore,
I think that's
and a
right.
spiritual teacher also has that as well.
Mm.
Also has a belief
Yeah.
that there is such a thing as a me, which they have found a way of getting rid of
Mm.
through diligence.
Like diligence. No, it just wasn't diligent enough.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing is that with teaching things, if somebody doesn't have a natural propensity to wanting to learn something or do something, they won't learn it.
Mm.
They just won't be able to learn it. Not very well. They might be able to try, but you know, it won't get anywhere.
Mm.
People just have natural preferences that go towards what it is that those bodies naturally go towards.
Mm.
You know, they don't have to be taught that, or you know, it's already what is. It's already what is expressed in that particular body. But yeah, spiritual seeking and spiritual teaching is total abstraction.
Mm. Completely different, isn't it?
Yeah.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Mm.
So with something like singing,
Mm.
so that's like
Yeah.
that's obviously you've got examples of that in nature with bird songs and things like that. But I was just thinking about it with what you said just then about if someone doesn't want to do something, then they won't do it or they won't learn
Yeah.
it. But there's something here about like singing that that hasn't been done for nearly 40 years, but there is something there that thinks that wants to do it, but hasn't. Like why would that happen? I guess it was.
Why would that happen? Well, I mean,
But I guess if there's, I guess I'm just thinking about it in like, I don't know why I'm thinking about it. If it's not if I haven't naturally gone towards it already.
well, I mean, all there is what seems to be happening. What seems to be happening there is a desire to sing, and that's what it is. That's what it is. There's a desire there to just sing, and there might have been a desire to sing before, but no opportunity, or whatever. That might have always been there, in a certain sense. But that doesn't matter. There's just all there is a desire to sing.
And I guess it's the me or whatever it is. It's like, oh, if I haven't done it already, then it's too late. Or there must be a reason. But that's
again that kind of thing of like, well, it being too late is about sort of like, getting somewhere. It's kind of like, I have to be a good singer, or I have to be a, some whatever, something that is, the me wants to sort of turn that singing into something, but all it is just a desire to sing.
It's even that it's, and I don't know, I'm just curious, like even that there's like looking for a reason, and meaning, and
reason, meaning, purpose, all of that.
I went back to singing because I was in the church choir when I was young. I went back to singing about 40 years later, and I went to a choir 18 months ago, and I just enjoyed it because the person who was leading it conveyed the energy. And then I joined another choir in the last 6 months, and this person is teaching it, and I just don't feel comfortable with it. It's quite interesting. What you were saying. Just can't. But the conveying of it makes all the difference. Is what you're saying. Conveying of energy.
Well, it just the if there's a desire, and there's naturally the body wants to follow that, and when that starts to be constricted by things, it may not be the case.
Because I didn't realise I had an interested desire, but actually the desire was there. Actually, I realised. Never too late.
Never too late.
Gorgeous. Sounds gorgeous.
Again, it's that thing that we were talking about before. I will make everything new. It is a constant newness. This is constant newness. This is constant immediacy. This is that doesn't ever,
It doesn't have to be a fixed idea.
No.
It's not fixed.
It just comes up.
Oh,
and if there's a desire that's strong enough, it will just go. It will do it. It will do what it wants to do. Doesn't need anybody to kind of be, working it out or anything.
But sometimes that desire just isn't strong enough.
Then it just doesn't.
Dies.
The
desire.
Exactly.
That happens a lot with me.
Well, I think it actually happens a lot, full stop. I think a lot of people have a lot of little desires that don't go anywhere, and then some that do. And that, those, you might have, it's always, it's very, I think that those a decision, seems to be like this or this. But very often I think that there's just a draw. So there can be more of a draw towards something than something else. But there can still be a draw to 2 or 3 things. It's just that one seems to lead more than the others. That's it. That's all that happens. You know. And again, it's not that. Yeah, it's that's just a magnetic pull. Best way I can describe it is a magnetic pull.
Resonance. Is that
Yeah,
resonance
could be.
a similar
Yeah,
word?
similar. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah, you might say that.
Quite like that.
Yeah.
it's quite lovely, the quietness in here, and where my body is becoming more and more relaxed.
Yeah.
And then the pub next door becoming louder and busier as the day progresses.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. It just feel like, and I know I've had that before, where when things start to relax and actually there's more tension in because it's like, the body's actually been holding on, because that contraction, talk about the contraction,
Sure.
it's very contracted, the body's contracted, and then it starts to relax, and then there's the initial real aches as everything starts to go, I don't have to do this anymore, so it just starts to, that's what I'm doing, that's what's going on for me.
Mm-hmm.
Where he goes,
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, you can see, like, with some people there's that, and then other people makes them more tense. The message, is this different, interesting.
So many things, but I think particularly like, this has nothing to do with, this doesn't have to figure it out.
No.
It's just like, it's okay, there's nothing to do.
No, it's nothing to do with
it's
that.
like, which we've sort of said a few times in here.
But that is it. It's very clear that it is nothing to do with anything that you can imagine or think about or it is that all of those things are part and parcel of that seeking, of that energy that's held in that and has got a drive and is trying to find something. And it's not necessary. I mean, it happen. It seems to happen. It's not necessary because that's the wonder of it.
Life gets more boring in a way, but it's not boring, as in. Do you know what I mean? As in. I can't remember who said it's like was it Izzy who said like it's like the ultimate like laziness.
Yeah, you could. I think you could say that. Yeah, but it's yeah. Yes, it is.
But it doesn't mean that you stop doing stuff.
No, exactly. That's what I was going to say. Is that actually laziness can be extreme activity.
Yeah.
So laziness for a lot of people can mean just like falling asleep
on
or
the sofa,
on the sofa. Kind of, that's what lazy. But actually, this laziness actually can spark a great, when there isn't no one, there can be a huge increase in things that are actually seem to be happening. That body might want to do things very actively, or it might not want to, but but essentially it is a it is a the me, the energy of the me no longer is there, propelling it all.
Yeah.
It's not like a lazy me. It's the me state is dead. I mean that's
Yeah.
I'm just making it. Of course, there is no me to die and all the rest of it. But
Yeah. But I guess for some bodies that would result in, for someone who's got like an extreme seeking energy, that might mean lots of things like fall away or dissipate or whatever. But it could easily, as you say, be like just going towards things that are
totally
enjoyable, but just for no reason.
Yeah.
Basically.
There can be, in a way, that me could possibly be something that sort of blocks the natural activity of that body. When that me falls away, then actually there's nothing in the way actually allowing that body to do whatever it wants to do. So it doesn't mean that there's just going to be a kind of like
get me the comfiest sofa. Just like it's not that.
Certain certain people are very different to each other. They've just got a completely different constitution, and just some people are just very, very active people. Other people are kind of actually not like that at all. Just kind of more that sort of have got that more natural longness.
Laziness.
Or just they're sort of they're paced. They're not really quick. They're just slower, naturally slower. Could put it.
And I don't know where I'm going, but it's sort of like it could also be that there's no energy, or like something happened. The me sort of like burns out or whatever, and then that can happen, and then I guess my question doesn't really make sense, but what I was going to say is like then slowly there can be energy going towards certain things that but again
I mean, had you like slowly I
guess I'm just putting the story to my own experience, but it's like having done lots of seeking in my own way, burnt out, but not necessarily the me burnt out, but then getting space to go towards a pleasurable sensation. But that's but there's no.
I see what you're saying.
you know burnout that you sometimes speak about,
Yeah.
burnout for me, is that different from like burnout because of overwork? That they can be different things, can't
Well,
they?
there is. I mean, I use that word, but it's not. It sounds like a process, you know. So it sounds like I am burning out. You know, there's this process of doing it.
Yeah.
And of course, as you know, we can't. There is no time.
Yeah.
So there is no process there.
Yeah.
But it's a way of describing something. What I notice in people where they say that they are burning out or they have burnt out or whatever
Yeah.
is that see you soon, take care. See you soon, take care. What I notice is that there's just it isn't the me has got to a place where it cannot keep going with the same sort of structure that it has been in. It's been doing something for a long time and it needs a change. You know, change is as good as a rest. It needs a holiday. So burnout very often is associated with a person where they get to a point where they can't do what they were doing. They have a break, they reinvent themselves, and then they do something else. That is, so it isn't completely burnt out. It's something where there is a breaking down, perhaps, of a particular way of doing something, a particular thing, but it's just in a way a kind of change. You know, from one me to another me. Very often that also happens with people that, you know, work with, you know, strong psychotropics and things like that. So, you know, they'll take something, they'll have an experience, it will break down that superstructure of a me state, and then they will reinvent themselves and form another one. This is the what is expressed here is just the end of that process, the end of the requirement to remake yourself. The sense that there's a requirement to remake yourself. There's no one to remake, so there's nothing that is going to form something else. That's the difference, I think. You know, but having said that, you know, like when people do burn out in the world, very often it's doing something that they were sort of taught to do or suggested that it was really good for them to do. And actually, when they go then towards something else, very often it's got much more to do with what they are naturally. So they often it's much less of a heavy burden when they do actually go towards something that is actually more natural for what they naturally express. So, you know, in a certain sense, it is a breaking down of the ego structure.
It was interesting what you said, not today, but another time. I heard you talking about, when you said that I think initially you thought you hadn't had any glimpses, but then later you recognised that you had those times.
Yeah.
And I was just curious about like what those times. It's just those gaps. And it's just like, are they just gaps or?
Yes, gaps.
Yeah.
Exactly, gaps. No time.
Yeah.
Time, like a timelessness.
But
I just, in a certain sense, that there was no noticing.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't anybody to notice in those gaps.
Yeah.
But then there's a sort of memory of those, like seared in a way of there being a, wow, that's, But yeah, I didn't know what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
It was too, I didn't know what I was looking for. It wasn't that. It must have been, I was looking for something much more sort of spectacular than that.
Right.
So in a way, that's why I think they just got kind of like, oh, well, that's just irrelevant. I'm looking for something much better than that shit.
Yeah.
I'm going for the moon,
Yeah.
So that's that's why I say it like that.
Yeah.
Again, it's a difficult thing to describe, but that's the reason. Yeah.
Yeah. And kind of like when you were saying, what we're talking about here is nothing to do with.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly that. It's exactly the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not to do. It's because I knew what I was looking for. Well, I didn't know what I was looking for, but I knew that it wasn't that. It was something that was much more spectacular than that. So I was looking for something spectacular, and I thought that when I found it, that I would be in one of Tony's meetings, and I would explode like a fireworks display. So, which I was quite nervous about because there's lots of people there.
Yeah.
So that's what I imagined.
Yeah.
And it was complete bullshit.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you can't imagine it.
No, you can't imagine it.
Yeah.
But it is. I mean, it is so normal that it is just this. It's not anything else. It's just what is happening. Is this? It's not something extra. So it's it's not a spectacular thing. I mean, it's not a spectacular. It's not a fireworks display kind of thing. I mean, it could be a fireworks display. That's the problem. But it's not. But it's not. Yes, it's not something that is some kind of excitation, stimulation, that kind of thing, which is what I think I was looking for.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Joy, like a peak experience.
Yeah.
Peak experience. That's the word. There you go.
Thank you.
Sure. So it's all right. It's all right. It's not. It isn't. There's nothing out to get you. There isn't something that's going to jump out. It's just this colours and energy in different seeming forms. There isn't a place to go to get it because it's just this. So, wherever you go, whatever you do, there isn't a way of getting there. It's always this in no matter what. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for coming. Appreciate it. Us few.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. We get nice and relaxed at the end. Cool.
Really tough.